pandemic. Um, we have the dung fever taking lives. We have very short in life savings aid, and we have a lot of people in need of immediate aid response. But we've also worked, we've been working since the beginning of the war, trying to adapt to the new situation. We have a lot of difficulties when it comes to government bureaucracy or the environment in general, because we're in autumn season. We're facing a flood also. We're facing a flood. We're trying to respond to the flood of the Nile. Meantime, fighting the dung fever and also trying to build the city, because that's what we do. Which we see life in chaos, and then we try to build on it. There is thousands of volunteers right now on the ground trying to come up with innovative ideas and stuff to help the community.
Thank you. My next question is for you, Sanosi. Can you explain how the ERRs differ from traditional aid organizations?
Thank you so much. The emergency response rooms is a unique innovation in delivering humanitarian aid. It takes the power back to the communities to design, implement interventions that actually make sense for them according to the context that they have, and therefore, in that sense, it's totally different than pre-designed interventions that are actually kind of asserted in communities, and sometimes they're helpful, but most times they're actually without a consideration to other variables that communities know and go through. The emergency response rooms is a decentralized network that each state, each locality, each neighborhood design their own intervention, and they get supported and funded to actually carry that intervention out. You know how Sudan is totally different. Just in itself as a country is totally different, and also differs from other countries, and mostly international organizations. It's all about drawing lesson learns from other contexts and try to like kind of replicate them in other places. Whether sometimes it just doesn't work. So this model of mutual aid encourages communities to actually take agency of the aid they're getting, and actually be a partner in that aid. So they're actually helping themselves.
Great, thank you. And then I'll finish with one more question for Duaa. And can you say how you hope the ERRs will evolve once the war is over?
Sorry, there were network breakage from my side. Can you repeat the question?
Yeah, can you just say how you hope the ERRs will evolve once the war is over?
Right now, the ERRs is not like, as Sanosi explained, it's not like regular initiatives or like organizations. What we did is we planted a seed of mutual aid in the community, and it became a lifestyle because we've been sieged for 2 years alone and with no international help or like even organization help and stuff. So we had to work with the community into turning mutual aid into a lifestyle, into a purpose, into meaningful tool to build the community, not just receiving aid or feeding people or just give them places to go and stuff. It's just giving them the idea. So what I'm seeing is the idea of the mutual aid itself is now planted in the people, because we have volunteers that were like 14, 15 years old when they joined, and now they're like 17 and 18, and they're just prospering and joining civil society and stuff. So when we're seeing the future of the emergency response rooms, it's in every citizen being through the war, Sudanese citizen, that they have it in their heart everywhere to help each other, to come together, not depending on governments or depending on organizations or like the old-fashioned way of doing mutual aid. So it's an idea of revolutionize mutual aid and just make everybody and turn them from reactors to what happened and victims and stuff into creators and also main actors in helping themselves and building their community from their experiences, what they have, the minimum they have. We're not depending on large fundings or like donations to help ourselves, because we started a lot of activities, a lot of projects started on the idea of psychosocial support, coming together, overcoming stuff. So it became like a whole culture built around the war to defeat the war and violence and stuff. So it will forever be in everybody's heart.
Thank you so much. Okay, I'm now happy to open the floor for questions. So you can either raise your hand to ask a question, and I'll unmute you, or you can write in the chat directly. But either way, please state your name and the outlet that you work for. I'll give it a little bit more time to see if anybody has questions. Otherwise, I can just keep asking questions and we can keep talking about the emergency response rooms. Okay, we have a question from Ida, so I'll allow her to talk. Here we go.
Sorry, I also wanted to mention that the chat is inactivated, so we can't use the chat currently.
Oh, okay. That is good to know. How do I?
In the meantime, I was wondering if how you are funding the current work that you do.
Thank you, Ida. There is different mechanisms of funding currently in progress, and since we started, we have one of the main mechanisms of funding is the SHF, the Sudan Humanitarian Fund, that provides support to the ERs through a partnership with international organizations and local organizations to make sure that they facilitate the aid to ERs and mutual aid on the ground. We have there's other mechanisms like the CAT Consortium of Sudan that is also adopting a similar GCTs, group cash transfers to units on the ground in forms of. We also have other mechanisms like donations through the funding mechanism through the Sudan Mutual Aid Sudan Coalition that will go directly to the states and the localities, the on the ground. So there's always multiple ways of funding at any given moment. Donors. We had previously the USAID and now other donors have stepped up, like FCDO and ECHO. So it's like there is multiple mechanisms usually for directing fund to the ERs on the ground. And we have a level of coordination that actually kind of make sure that there's no duplication, make sure that like states are actually getting funding in a regular basis so that they could keep providing the necessary aid to the people on the ground. Thank you, Ida, for the question.
Thank you.
Okay, the chat should now be working and it should be open. So you're welcome to either ask a question there, or again, you can raise your hand and I will unmute you. Sylvia, you should be able to speak now.
Hello, everybody. I'm Sylvia Chokara, and I work for the Office of the High Commissioner for Human Rights. So, well, first of all, congratulations for the award, and and for the work that you are doing in Sudan, that we all know it's so important, and it has been so well life-saving work during all these difficult times. So I would be interested to hear about the risks, the main risks that the emergency response room members might be facing in Sudan because of the work that they do, and in which way you think the international community, could be the UN or international NGOs, could be supporting the protection of the emergency response rooms in Sudan. I would be interested to hear in general in Sudan, but for example, in particular, if you would have any particular inputs on the in El Fasher, for example, which seems to be a very difficult situation and not so obvious how to maybe be providing protection for some of the mutual aid groups that are working there. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Sylvia. Duaa, you can weigh in if you want, but I can also take it.
Okay, I'm going to I'm going to speak some of the difficulties that we're facing here on the ground in Khartoum, for instance, and then Sanusi can talk about other places in Sudan. So in Khartoum, we're facing threats of arrest, disappearance, being chased by the authorities or security forces and stuff, and also risks of working for really long hours, doing a lot of work like the whole day, that gets volunteers into physical exhaustion or emotional exhaustion and burnouts. And we're facing also stuff like not getting enough funding sometimes. And we're also facing stuff like this is for like generally for volunteers, but let's talk about for a little for like women. We're facing stuff like sexual violence, with being exposed to a lot of, especially from the security forces and stuff, because being exposed to arrest and stuff puts you in sometimes in the face of in facing sexual assault or harassment. We're also facing not having enough support for volunteers, and not being well protected. I mean, like, thankfully by gaining these awards, we're getting some sort of really great and good protection, but we're also in the need of a lot of advocacy and media campaigns and stuff into reaching out to the whole world to share experience and protection and stuff. But also, this is some of the stuff we're facing, and we're working under a lot of under a very difficult and harsh circumstances with the epidemics and the fevers and the floods and stuff. So we need in every help. We're facing. This is some of the stuff we're facing. Sanusi can, like in Khartoum right now, but Sanusi can also talk more about Sudan. Sanusi, please.
Thank you, Da. And yes, as my colleague mentioned, I mean, risks are various, from intimidation all the way to death and everything in between. And we've seen that across Sudan in multiple areas, to volunteers that have been detained, arrested, otherwise killed, or tortured to death in detentions. And I think, just as far as what international organizations could do, I think we need to revisit the protection of civilians and the protection of volunteers. It seems very reactionary most of the times, rather than actually proactive to protect volunteers on the ground. I mean, advocacy indeed is one of the main tools that we talk about that will increase our protection. Award like the Right Livelihood Award and other awards, and I think this is a testimony to the work that the volunteers are doing on the ground. and that increases the protection for our volunteers on the ground. The second thing is that, just for example, when somebody is arrested from ERRs, like usually there's few things you could do, but how could we make sure that they don't get arrested in the first place? Increasing advocacy and increasing communications with authorities cross line to actually recognize the role of ERs that they're doing, and uh, not put them in harm's way. Yeah, like, so this is in general, I think, I don't want to go into details, but this in general are the risks that we face. As they said, it goes from intimidation to death, and also for our volunteers who get intimidated and get evacuated outside of the country. There's also no social protection for them. They're there on their own, fitting for themselves, trying to make ends meet while also supporting ERs on the ground. So there's a lot to talk about in terms of the protection for volunteers, for those who are inside, in hard to reach areas. Those are in Khartoum, those are on the front line, those are in places like Al Fashir, who are, in a city that's under siege, and people are still trying to source food to feed people and to protect people and to provide life-saving medication, or treat wounded. So there's a lot we need to do to kind of advocate for the protection of volunteers on the ground, the protection of civilians at large.
Thank you so much. We have another question. This one is in the chat from Effie. And Pablo's question is, what do you expect from the UN, the African Union, and major international donors following this award?
I think we expect an end to this war as a start. It's been nearly 3 years of war that devastated life of half the population of Sudan. And I think we've seen efforts here and there to kind of advance a roadmap and a timeline for peace. But I think Sudanese people have said enough. Enough is enough. This war need to stop. There's the fighting need to stop, so that international organizations could be able to access communities and support. Like, we have been working, aid in during an emergency and during a active active fight, an active war. And it actually, the active war actually limits the movement of humanitarians to actually deliver aid. I think international community, the UN. The UN, it's in its two different form: the aid UN and also the politics side of the UN. I think they both need to work together in delivering aid at scale. That is one, and also kind of pushing forward the roadmap for a ceasefire that will allow humanitarians to actually access people who need help and need support. Um, I think, yeah, I think that's what I have for them. Yeah.
Okay, thank you so much. Duaa, did you want to add, or should I move to the next question? Then I'll move. Okay, so now we have a question from ARD, German Radio and Television. And their question is, what does receiving the Right Livelihood Award mean for your network?
Sorry, the question again.
What does receiving the Right Livelihood Award mean for your network?
Okay. Duaa, you can go first, then I can go after if you want.
Actually, the people in the community, because I just heard the news with people in the community. We're very happy and excited to hear this, and they feel very proud, and they feel very included, and the world's actually seeing what they're doing and stuff, because we have a lot of people. And I mentioned mutual aid. It's not just about helping people. It became a culture in that everybody in the community is a part of, and it also means a lot to us as an acknowledgement to the efforts and sacrifices. Especially, we lost a lot of volunteers during the war when the fight was active. And yeah, they mentioned the recognition. It's also mean that we feel like we reach more far to the world, and also it's nice to be recognized, and it's nice to be awarded and stuff. But thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you so much. And I think you were humbled by this, and it's an honor. It's a tribute to thousands of Sudanese volunteers that you guys are seen, you guys are heard. We stand with you, and it means a lot to us that we're getting this recognition in these really hard and times. It's also a tribute to the volunteers we lost while providing aid to their communities on the ground. And yeah, I think, yeah, we appreciate this award in particular, because it's exactly fits into what the soul of the work we do, the right to life, the right to protecting lives, the right to dignified aid for Sudanese people who suffered across Sudan through this war. And we really appreciate you guys for this recognition, and thank you so much on behalf of Sudan Emergency Response Rooms. We thank you and we appreciate the support.
Great, thank you so much. We have 4 minutes left. If anybody has more questions, we probably have time for one more question if there is one. In the meantime, I can just remind everybody that, again, we're recording this. So if you want the link, just email me, and I'll make sure that you get it. And now, okay, we have one more question, again, from Efe. And Pablo's question is, how can these grassroots structures evolve after the war is over, as you put it? What role should they play in post-war governance and reconstruction?
Um, the ERs across Sudan have stepped in, of course, during this humanitarian crisis, but we have strategies for recovery and for development. This is innovative solutions, rooted in the needs of the community. So when the need was is food and medicine and food security, this is what the response was. And in some areas now, when the need is actually turning into recovery, fixing the electricity, fixing water, rehabilitation of hospitals and schools and all that, then that's what the response will evolve to. And maybe in the future, when it's actually the need for actual development work, and I think that's also what the response will evolve to. It's a constant moving, changing solidarity network that actually reacts to what the community wants at that time and at that moment. Thank you for the question.
Yeah, Duaa, go ahead.
What I'm seeing is since we started on the basis of local governance. So when people are involved into support communities and providing, but we see ERRs, the ERRs members and communities could be guarded. Should change to guarding like democracy and see and actually makes people more aware of their rights and not just receivers of aid. Knowing your right to receive aid, knowing your right to for peace and your right into peaceful coexistence and such stuff like this. It's not just feeding people and just secure them for a day. It's like looking to the future, democratic future that built on transparency, accountability, and also a very aware community of their rights, not just and also everyone is human rights are guaranteed and stuff, and everybody's watching and be held accountable. That trying to see it into the community. So I think the role in the future can be the people can actually lead their future and see what they want, and also not just seeing it, but also aspiring and working towards it. Thank you.
Yeah.
Great. Thank you so much. Okay, now we're at 10:30, so that will be the end of the press conference. Again, email me if you would like the recording, and you can also reach out for interviews if you would like to speak to either Duaa or Sanosi more. So thank you so much and have a great rest of your day, everybody.
Thank you.